Hello, I'm Matt Utterback, Superintendent of the North Clackamas School District, and thank you for watching this video as we are in the process of collecting information from our community on a proposed bond that our school district is considering taking to the voters in November of 2016. Joining me in today's presentation is Leroy Landers, a principal architect with the Malem architect firm, who's been working with our school district for the past 10 years in helping facilitate conversations and identifying issues within our district on our facilities. Today, we have 5 questions that we'd like for you to help us answer. The first question is, should our school district consider a bond levy, and if so, how much? The second question we'd like for you to help us with is, what should be included in that bond, and what would be the priority of those bond projects? We'd like to ask your opinion on 2 specific projects, one around Milwaukee High School and one on building a 4th comprehensive high school. And then we'd also like for you to help us identify any issues or any projects potentially that we're not yet considering putting on this bond initiative. Keep in mind as you're watching this video over the course of the next 30 or 40 minutes that we're very early in the process of putting this bond package together, that we may not have all of the information yet as we're still working to develop this bond proposal. But our primary interest is to hear from you. And over the course of this presentation, we're going to ask you to answer a number of questions for us. Your feedback will be part of a report that Leroy and his team will put together to me, the superintendent, that will help me then put together a bond proposal for our board to consider. And our board would consider that proposal in March of 2016, and they would decide whether or not to put a bond proposal on the November 2016 ballot. Probably one of the most important things we hope you take away from this presentation is that, again, we're really early in this process, and there are no promises. We're going to talk specifically about some projects, and we may not talk about other projects. But it's important that you don't hear that we're making promises tonight. These are just proposals at this point. So we should talk a little bit about what is a capital bond. A capital bond can be used to improve school facilities or build new school facilities. Okay? They cannot be used for the day-to-day operations of the school district, like teacher salaries. They can't be used to add additional staff. Through the process that we're going through right now is that the school district would identify an amount of money that's needed to build new facilities and to improve our existing facilities. We would then ask the school district's property owners to vote on that bond level amount, and if the money is approved, if that bond level is approved, the funds for those bonds are collected through property taxes over a very specific period of time. In North Clackamas, we've been very fortunate that our community has supported previous bond measures in 1991, 1998, and 2006. So why should a school district consider a passage of a bond? We're looking for to take a bond out to the voters in November of 2016, and the reason for that are many. We have some schools that are as old as 99 years at Milwaukee Elementary, El Puente Elementary. Milwaukee High School will celebrate its 90th birthday this year. But we also have 15 schools that were built before 1968. We have safety and security and earthquake seismic issues in a number of our schools. We have over $50 million in unfunded maintenance projects at all of our school sites. We're looking to improve the student experience for our 17,000 students, making sure they have access to technology and relieving overcrowding in some of our schools. It's important to note that if the proposed bond were to be at $380 million or less, the property tax rate for owners of property in our school district would remain flat. It would not increase. So as we start talking to you about various bond scenarios, it's important that you understand some key definitions. And so I'm going to go through 5 or 6 of those for you. The first is earthquake preparation. We have about 5 to 6 buildings that we've identified through engineers and architects that are at high risk or medium high risk for significant damage, for significant failure in a major earthquake. We'd like to improve those buildings and lower those buildings' seismic risk. We also have safety and security issues in many of our schools. That includes some elementary schools that have classrooms that are not necessarily connected to one another. We want to make sure that there's a secure perimeter for students to travel from classroom building to classroom building. We also want to make sure that our teachers have the ability to lock classrooms from the inside of the classroom versus having to go out into the hallway to secure their classroom. We have some buildings that need additional cameras, and we have some schools that still need fire sprinkler suppression systems. We also have a tremendous amount of unfunded maintenance in our school district, approximately $50 million worth of unfunded maintenance. These include projects such as roofing, repairing flooring, pavement, asphalt improvements at our school sites, external and internal painting, plumbing repairs, boiler repairs. Just as you in your own homes need to improve your facilities over time, our schools need to be improved over time to maintain the investment that we've put into them. We also have the need to continue to make sure we have parity within our athletic fields across the 3 high schools in the district. That we'll be looking at placing a small amount of money to ensure that our fields are accessible and those fields are of equal quality across the school district. And finally, we have a number of schools that need some additions and some expansions. In schools and where the population is growing, we may need to add a few classrooms. In other places, we may need to expand kitchens, for example, to meet the needs of the students in that school. So what have we done so far? These are the steps leading up to now. Last February, we put together a 35-member bond advisory committee. This committee is comprised of parents, community members, elected officials, and district staff. And they've been charged with, number one, helping us to put together various bond scenarios, but they've also been charged with really understanding the issues that the school district is facing with regards to our capital needs. So they've been meeting since February, over 8 meetings, and developing ideas and raising issues. You're going to see some of their work in these proposals that we're going to share with you tonight. We've also surveyed our voters twice over the course of the last year and a half. What we've learned from those pollings is that there's mild support in the school district for a tax increase. But there's also major support for there's major support if there is no tax increase. If the district were to go out to voters and ask them to maintain their current tax rate, initial polling says that 70% of likely voters would support that idea. So this bond advisory committee, their work over the past 8 months has really included looking at 3 distinct areas of our school district. The first is the educational program, looking at what education is going to need to look like in 5, 10, 25 years. They've also looked at enrollment and growth, identifying those schools where enrollment is growing and is expected to continue to grow, as well as schools where maybe there is declining enrollment and what implications does that have in the school district. And finally, they've dived deeply into the conditions of our facilities, looking at maintenance issues, looking at seismic issues, and determining where those high needs are. So as we've put these various scenarios together, we've really considered 10 items, and these are important to understand as we go through and share this work with you. The first guiding principle is that we want to consider the input of the Bond Advisory Committee. These 35 individuals have become deeply aware of the issues, and we value their opinion. Second, it's important that we maintain the investment in our current facilities. These are facilities that have, for many years, served our district well, and they will need investment to continue to serve our district and our students moving into the future. We need to make sure that we're looking at our schools that have the greatest need of replacement and improvement. And so we've done that, and you're going to see some specific schools that we're thinking about investing in. Fourth, we need to address the need for future growth in the school district. And again, we have some ideas that we'd like to talk to you about. 5, we want to make sure that we're considering the amount of money that potentially could be spent in each feeder system. The North Clackamas School District is a district of 17,000 students, but within those 17,000 students, we have 3 high school feeder systems: the Milwaukee feeder system, the Rex Putnam feeder system, and the Clackamas feeder system. We need to make sure that we're looking at how we're allocating resources in all 3 of those feeder systems within the school district. Next, we need to look at ensuring that each magnet school and neighborhood school is going to see improvements in this bond. It's important for the district, it's important for the Bond Advisory Committee to make sure that every school is going to see some positive impacts as a result of the passage of a bond levy. Next, we want to make sure that we're going to address the schools that are at high and medium-high seismic risk. We've all heard conversations and talk about a major earthquake happening in the Pacific Northwest. We want to make sure our schools are going to be as safe as we can make them in the case of that event. Next, we want to make sure that we're going to address the safety and security issues that were identified by a safety task force that I put together 2 years ago. There are a number of recommendations from that task force that we've started to implement, and we want to continue to implement those. We also would like to address the addition and expansion needs in our facilities throughout the district. These are primarily kitchen expansions, as well as adding additional classrooms at numerous schools throughout the district, again, to deal with that growth and the capacity issues that we face. And finally, we want to make sure that we're, once again, making sure we have parity and equity between our athletic fields throughout the district. So those 10 guiding principles have gone in and we've strongly considered as we've put together the various bond scenarios we're going to share with you tonight. So next we're going to have Leroy talk about some of the conditions and enrollment projections that our school district is facing.
Thank you, Matt. As Matt mentioned earlier, my name is Leroy Landers. I'm a principal and architect with Malem Architects. We are an architectural firm that has offices in Portland and Seattle. One of our primary interests and specialties is the design of K through 12 school facilities. We also specialize in long-range planning for K through 12 school districts and have assisted districts throughout the Pacific Northwest in the development of their plans. In 2005, we started working with the North Clackamas School District to develop the first phase of their long-range facility plan. That facility plan resulted in passage of the 2006 bond that your community here in North Clackamas generously supported. They asked us back in 2015 to assist them with the second phase of that long-range facility plan. And we have been working with the Community Advisory Committee since February of 2015 in the development of that plan. One of the first things that we wanted to do when we began work in this phase of the long-range plan was to make sure that we understood the current existing conditions of all schools across your district. And so we sent out teams to assess the condition of each school. And at that time, we also interviewed the principals at each of these schools to understand what their challenges and needs are with regard to the condition of their facilities. What you're looking at is a series of slides that illustrate some of the conditions that we have seen. They include, on the upper left, a stair which has been repaired at one point in time and is in need of new repair. On the upper right of the slide, you'll see an attempt to handle infiltration of water at one of the exteriors of the building. So the district has tried to create a damming structure to keep water from coming in the building. In the lower center, you see water coming through one of the boiler rooms. This happens to be at Milwaukee High School. And these were prevalent conditions throughout many of the facilities in the district. And then finally, an example of one of the classrooms in Milwaukee High School where, because of the conversion of a larger space into a classroom, columns and various other items end up being directly in front of students and the teacher and the whiteboard where they're trying to learn. As we did facility assessment across the district, we converted that condition to a numeric scoring system which would enable the Community Advisory Committee to very quickly understand the relative condition of schools across their district. What you're looking at is a map of North Clackamas School District that illustrates the relative condition of these buildings. And you will see the map you're looking at is a condition of elementary schools across the district. Red indicates those schools which are in need of major modernization. These are typically schools that are associated with high seismic risk. They're typically schools that were constructed prior to probably about 1960 or so. They're essentially the older schools in your district. Where you see green on this map, it illustrates that those elementary schools are either in satisfactory condition or requiring very minor modernizations. There are no real surprises here. Most of the modernizations, significant modernizations that need to occur are on the west side of your district, simply because those are your older facilities. And most of the facilities that do not require modernization exist on the east side of your district. And that's simply because that is the newer portion of the district where growth is happening, and the facilities are newer in that location. This general condition exists at all grade levels across the district, whether it be elementary, middle school, or high school. The map you're looking at now illustrates the condition of your high schools across the district. And once again, on the west side of the district, you see on the upper left-hand corner Milwaukee High School feeder area that has the darker red indicating a major modernization is required. Matt mentioned a while ago that Milwaukee High School is now approaching 90 years of age. Many of its systems are failing, and we'll speak a little bit about that later. Putnam is also in need of modernization, but a bit less so than Milwaukee High School. The reason for that is that a significant amount of capital funding was provided to Putnam High School during the 2005 and 2006 bond. And so a number of the issues that are associated with that high school were repaired at that point in time. Clackamas High School, as you see on the east side of your district, is in satisfactory condition. And that's simply because it is a newer high school and it has been maintained in very good condition, and so requires very, very little modernization. We created similar maps to address enrollment issues across the district. And what the maps that you're going to be looking at associated with enrollment are really showing is the comparison of enrollment, in other words, the number of students attending a school, to the capacity of that school. How many seats are available in that same school? And you'll note that the map is nearly exactly opposite of the condition maps. In other words, schools that have enrollment issues are almost entirely located on the eastern half of your district. The reason for this is that the eastern portion of your district is that area that is experiencing the most rapid growth area. On the western half of the district, you'll note that elementary schools, almost all of which are green, are from an enrollment standpoint acceptable or okay. And so there's very little growth at this time projected for the western portion of your district, although it's important to note that with recent changes, including light rail coming through the Milwaukee area, that there is some expectation that this could change over the next 10 years or so, and growth could begin to increase in the western half of your district as well. This pattern of need relative to enrollment and capacity exists again at all different grade levels across your district, both in elementary, middle, and high school on the eastern side of your district. The map you're looking at illustrates the high school level, and what you're seeing is the Clackamas High School feeder area has significant projected over-enrollment. Today, the enrollment is approximately 2,500 students, and the district has established a target capacity for all high schools across the district at 1,800 students. By 2024, the projected over-enrollment at Clackamas High School will be nearly 900 students. On the west half of your campus, you'll note that both Milwaukee High School and Putnam High School are fine. They're acceptable from an enrollment standpoint. And so at this point in time, no additions to those schools are being projected as needed. So what we'd like you to do is to give us some feedback on these things. And this is how you can give us feedback. You can go to the North Clackamas website. There you can take a survey, which is available in 5 languages. You can write to the school district. And that would be letters should be addressed to North Clackamas School District at their administration building at this address. Finally, what I'd like to do is turn it over to Matt, who will walk us through the first listening exercise.
So we're now going to share with you several scenarios, several questions that we would like your feedback on. You can watch this video in its entirety and take the survey at the end of this video, or you can go to the district website, and on that front page on the left-hand side under Quick Links, there is a link to bond info. And if you click on that bond info link, it will open up to our bond info webpage. And on that webpage, you will find a link to a survey. And so you can take the survey as we go through the questions, or again, you can wait until the end and take the survey in its entirety. So the first listening exercise we'd like to share with you tonight is around the general bond scenarios. What's being proposed? So the first question we're going to ask you is how big? How big should this bond proposal be? The proposed bond packages range in size from $300 million to $486 million. They range from no tax increase at all to approximately 53 cents per $1,000 of assessed value. So here is bond package A. Bond package A is the $486 million package. It would require a 53 cents tax increase per $1,000 of assessed value, and the length of the bond would be 25 years. So for every $100,000 of assessed value on your home, a homeowner could expect to pay 53 additional dollars per year. This bond package would fund all unfunded maintenance that the district has identified. It would take care of all the high and medium-high seismic risks. It would ensure that all the additions and expansions that are currently identified in the district would be completed. It would make sure that our athletic fields have parity across the school district, and it would address all the safety and security recommendations of the Safety Security Task Force. It would replace or remodel the main building at Milwaukee High School. It would build a new elementary school on the east side of the district to address the growth issues that Leroy referenced previously. It would convert Rock Creek Middle School on the east side of the district to a 4th comprehensive high school. This was part of the plan the district put together in 2005-2006, where Rock Creek Middle School was designed to be a future high school in the school district. If this were to be included in the bond and this project were to be completed, Rock Creek Middle School would convert to a 4th large comprehensive high school, and current middle school students would return to the East Campus, formerly Sunrise Junior High School, and that would revert to a middle school again. This project would complete major renovations and modernizations at 6 schools. Those schools are Sunnyside Elementary School, Rao Middle School, Milwaukee El Puente Elementary School, Lot Whitcomb Elementary School, Alder Creek Middle School, and Sabin Schellenberg Professional Technical Center. This bond proposal would also provide funds for a new transportation center. Currently, our transportation center is located on the campus of Alder Creek Middle School. It's been there for a number of years, but as our school district has grown from 9,000 students to 17,000 students, we've outgrown that facility. And we're currently parking buses at numerous locations throughout the school district, which is problematic for us, as well as problematic for the middle school and the neighborhood surrounding that middle school in trying to get transportation in and out effectively, efficiently, and safely. And finally, this bond proposal would add a 5th middle school to the school district. The $486 million proposal does include this fifth middle school at a cost of about $71 million. We know that East Side middle schools in the next few years will more than exceed 1,000 students. Currently, Happy Valley Middle School is already at 1,070 students, and we expect that to grow. We also expect Rock Creek Middle School to exceed 1,000 students within the next few years. Rao Middle School in the Milwaukee feeder system is already functioning at capacity as well. The district back in 2006 set a target for middle school enrollment at 750 students, and today we're well beyond that in all 4 of our district middle schools. So bond package B is a $415 million package. It is an 18 cents tax increase per $1,000 of assessed value, and again, it's a 25-year bond. So again, for every $100,000 of assessed value on a property, a taxpayer would pay an additional $18 per year. Bond package B, this $415 million bond package, does everything that bond package A did, except for that last bullet, the fifth middle school. Bond package C is a $380 million bond proposal. This bond proposal is a no tax rate increase. It would keep the tax rate from 2017 moving forward for 25 years at the same rate. It does everything in bond package A and B except for what we've highlighted in red. Unfunded maintenance would be reduced by 11%, so we would be able to complete roughly 89% of the maintenance needs that we've identified in the district. It would complete those major renovations at the 6 schools we identified, but at a lesser amount, and it would provide about half the cost for that transportation center. Basically, we would be able to buy the property for a new transportation center. We would not be able to build any of the buildings on site. And again, it does not cover the cost of that fifth middle school. And finally, bond package D is a $300 million bond proposal. It again is a no tax rate increase proposal, but what it does create is in 10 years, in 2027, the district will have some bonds roll off the tax rolls, creating bond capacity in 2027. And when that happens, the tax rate will decline in 2027 unless voters decide at that time to keep the rate the same or consider a tax increase. Bond package D does everything in the previous bond packages, again, except for what we've highlighted in red. The big difference here, though, is that between the $300 million package and the $380 million package is that we would not convert Rock Creek Middle School to that 4th large comprehensive high school. So I can explain a little bit further the difference between bond package C and bond package D. Primarily, the difference again is the 4th high school. What we do know is that in order to build that 4th high school, we need to add approximately 144,000 square feet to the Rock Creek Middle School campus. If we were to do that this year, it's estimated that that project would cost us $64 million. If we wait until 2020, the passage of the bond, we're projecting that this project will cost us $78 million. If the district were to wait and taxpayers were to wait until 2027, for example, to complete this project, we know that it's estimated to cost over $100 million to complete the 4th high school. So here's a quick summary of the 4 options. Again, package A, $486 million, a 50 cents tax rate per $1,000 of assessed value increase. It fully funds all the projects that we've identified. Bond package B is a $415 million package. It's an 18 cents tax increase per $1,000 of assessed value, and it completes all of the projects with the exception of the 5th middle school. Bond proposal C is a $380 million package. It maintains our current tax rate that we have today, moving forward for 25 years. It does most of the maintenance projects that we've identified. Some of the major renovations are slightly reduced, and we'd only be able to complete about half of that transportation center. And bond package D is a $300 million bond package. It's the same as bond package C with one major exception, in that it would not fund the 4th comprehensive high school in the school district. So at this point, you can return to the survey where we're asking you a series of questions.
We'd like to ask you 4 questions today, the first 2 of which are with regard to the 4 bond packages that you've just seen. What would you advise the district, thinking about it in a larger picture, to do? Which one should they put on the ballot and why? The 3rd and 4th questions are, what would you personally, as a taxpayer, when you go vote for this bond measure, support and why? The second listening exercise we'd like you to participate in involves a discussion around Milwaukee High School. As Matt pointed out in his earlier outline of the 4 bond packages, Milwaukee High School is one of the major elements in each of the proposals, and in fact occurs and stays in each of the proposals. So why focus on Milwaukee High School? Well, we have been meeting with the Community Advisory Committee since February of 2015. And as part of those meetings, we asked that committee to identify the primary needs associated with the school district, whether they be facility condition or whether they be associated with enrollment, and to prioritize those needs. The committee identified Milwaukee High School as the #1 issue to address in any bond proposal. And so that's why we're bringing it to the table for your consideration. As we mentioned before, Milwaukee High School was built in 1925. That makes it approximately 90 years old. It has small classrooms, many of which have obstructed views to the teaching walls and make it difficult for a student to really have a good learning environment. There's not natural light in many of the classrooms, and what that means, there are not windows in those classrooms. The existing structure, because it was built in 1925, limits its flexibility. So if you were to try and modify that facility into a modern learning environment, it would be very difficult to do so. As we mentioned, there are earthquake considerations associated with Milwaukee High School. It was one of the facilities that falls into that high-risk category, and we know that these issues need to be addressed. And then finally, there are narrow and poorly lit hallways in Milwaukee High School, simply because it was a facility that was built 90 years ago. The photographs you're looking at illustrate just a few of the conditions that we found in Milwaukee High School when we visited it. On the upper left-hand corner, you see a classroom that is approximately 750 square feet. This classroom is serving 30 or more students. To put that in perspective, when modern learning environments or modern schools are designed today, classrooms are more than 200 square feet larger, so approximately 960 square feet, and they're designed to serve 25 students. So these classrooms are very overcrowded. On the right-hand side of the slide, what you're looking at is a classroom that was never meant to be a classroom. This was a larger space that was converted because it was needed into a classroom space. And as part of that conversion, the existing structure, as you see a column in the middle of the photograph, creates problems seeing the whiteboard and the learning walls for a number of students in the classroom. And then finally, in the lower left-hand area of the slide is a photograph that was taken inside the boiler room. It's important to note that buildings that are approaching 90 years old typically have significant issues associated with their systems. These are the plumbing systems, the electrical systems, the heating and cooling systems. And in this photograph, you see a corroded pipe that's part of the plumbing system in Milwaukee High School. The district also took a poll of students. They had a listening session that included approximately 80 students that attend Milwaukee High School. And what you're looking at is just a small sampling of some of the comments that came directly from students who are attending and learning in Milwaukee High School facility on a day-to-day basis. For example, they range from everything is discussing to it gets really hot, which is really a comment on the systems of the building that I just mentioned, to it's like studying in a dungeon. So I think this is an excellent example coming from those who experience that building on a day-to-day basis. So when we consider replace or remodel Milwaukee High School, why would we do one or the other? And we wanted you to understand just some of the pros and cons associated with replacement or remodeling approaches. On the left side of the slide, you see pros and cons associated with a replacement, a full replacement of the building. This means the existing main building at Milwaukee High School would be removed and replaced with a brand new building. Some of the pros associated with that are that this assures a very long life for the new building, simply because every system, every aspect of that building has been replaced and is new. It also makes Milwaukee High School equal to the newest schools in the district, namely Clackamas High School, because it would be an entirely new facility and really be comprised of modern learning environments throughout. When the building is replaced, it's possible that the replacement could make a historic reference to the existing school. There are some constituents in your community who may be very interested in maintaining the existing Milwaukee High School because it could be seen as an icon in the community. And should a full replacement approach be taken, it may be possible to make a reference to the existing building in some fashion. A good example of this existed in your last bond measure with the replacement of Ardenwald Elementary School, where Ardenwald was a historic elementary school which was valued in its local community. When Ardenwald was eventually replaced, it was replaced with a building that referenced the original structure. And I believe that it's fair to say that most of the community is very happy with the replacement and its reference to the previous building. And finally, if you replace the Milwaukee High School main building entirely, you're more likely to be able to create exactly what you want from an academic program standpoint, simply because there's no remaining existing structure that you have to work with. You have essentially a blank slate to do exactly what you want to do. The cons of replacement are few, but probably the main one is that you lose the 1925 building. You lose what some people might consider an iconic or historic structure in the community. In a remodel situation, the obvious pro is that you're able to keep that 1925 building. And that's probably the major benefit of this particular approach. The cons include the idea that the renovation may limit in some fashion what you can do with the building, whether it be inclusion of technology, efficient use of space, or provision for natural light, or adding additional windows in the building. The amount of any one of these that may be affected is very specifically associated with what portion of that building you keep as part of the renovation or remodel. And finally, just as for some people in the community, the idea of keeping an iconic older building is important, for others, it's a very different approach. For those folks, it may be nothing is as great as something new. They may believe that moving forward in time and creating a brand new Milwaukee High School is preferable for many reasons. So what we would like you to do is provide a little bit of input associated with this question of replace or remodel. And the first question we'd like you to answer is, should Milwaukee High School be replaced or remodeled? You can answer replace, you can select major remodel, or C if you simply don't know. The second question we'd like you to answer is, why did you give that answer? What made you decide to either replace or remodel Milwaukee High School main building? And if you don't know, what other information would you like to have for you to be able to make that decision?
So the next listening exercise that we'd like to address is this idea of how many high schools should we have in our school district. We talked earlier about the conversion of Rock Creek Middle School to a fourth comprehensive high school. This proposal would then have the current Clackamas High School enrollment at the time shared now between 2 high schools on the east side of the school district. The district would then have 4 high schools with a capacity of roughly 1,800 students in each of them. The Clackamas High School East Campus, formerly Sunrise Junior High, would be reverted back to a middle school campus. The estimated cost of this project is about $78 million. There's both pros and cons to this idea. The 4th comprehensive high school pros include more opportunities for students. Currently, students at Clackamas High School don't have the same number of opportunities as students at our other high schools simply because of the large enrollment at Clackamas. Students are regularly eliminated from the opportunity to participate in athletics and other activity programs simply because there are not the same number of opportunities to participate. It would reduce overcrowding. A smaller high school allows for greater connections to the school, between the students and the school, and it would create parity across the school district from the idea of the size of the 4 high schools would be much more comparable than they are now. Cons certainly include the cost. It would require a change in the school community. It is challenging when school communities have to change and those dynamics change. And some folks may find that a smaller school creates a smaller pool for athletes and could impact negatively the athletic program. Keeping Clackamas High School as is, there are also some pros associated with that. It does provide for a bigger pool of athletes to be selected to the varsity teams. It keeps the current Clackamas High School community together, and it either saves or delays the cost associated with building a 4th high school. The cons, certainly overcrowding would not have been addressed, continues the fewer opportunities for students, there's a loss of a personalization for students in their high school, and delaying this costs more down the road. So it would delay the cost of this project and increase the cost down the road. So next we'd like to ask your opinion on this topic. So question number 7 on the survey is, should the bond proposal include a 4th high school? Select A for yes, select B for no, and C if you don't know. And then question number 8, we'd like to have you explain the reason behind your answer. And if you don't know whether or not that we should build a 4th high school, please tell us what you need to know that would help you make that decision.
So moving on to listening exercise number 4, prioritization. As we mentioned, the bond measure, all of the bond measures actually, contain a number of potential projects associated with them. These include access to technology, athletic field improvements, earthquake preparation, energy savings, which keep in mind affects operational cost over the future of buildings, the 5th middle school to deal with enrollment, fire safety improvements, a 4th comprehensive high school also to deal with increases in enrollment, the major modernization of 6 schools, a new elementary school to deal with increasing enrollment at the elementary level, the replacement or remodel of Milwaukee High because it's a 90-year-old building, security improvements, and unfunded maintenance. We'd like you to tell us, of these items listed on each bond proposal, which are the 3 most important that should be included in the bond proposal. So select 3 of these items and vote for each one of them once. We'd also like you, in the next question, to select the 3 least important items to include in the bond proposal. And finally, question number 11, we ask you to select an item, if any, that should not be proposed in the bond. So if you've looked at all of these items and any of them strike you as simply not appropriate to be included in the bond, please identify that item or items. If all of them seem appropriate, then you do not need to answer this question and indicate anything that should be removed.
Our last listening session number 5, has us discussing with you and seeking feedback on, are there any controversial issues in any of the bond proposals we've shared, and asking you to identify anything that may be missing in any of the bond proposals. So, question number 12 is asking you, what controversial issues or concerns do you believe the district should expect in any or all of these bond proposals? Question number 13 is asking, what idea or item do you think should also be considered in these bond proposals that you didn't hear tonight? So again, what ideas or any items that you think should be included in these bond proposals, but you haven't heard us discuss them today? So that concludes the information we're sharing on the bond scenarios tonight. There are a couple of more questions on the survey. They deal with demographic information, just having you tell us who you are and what part of the district you represent. We're also going to tell you here in the next couple of slides of how to keep abreast of what is happening in the bond proposal over the course of the next year. So the next steps, there's opportunities to attend community engagement meetings in October and November, and we'll share those dates with you. In November, we're going to compile all of this information and we'll share that with our school board. So our school board will have a sense on what our community is feeling and sensing with regards to these bond scenarios we've shared with you. The Bond Advisory Committee will meet in December. They will also take this input that you've given us and will begin to develop the final bond proposal that will be acted on by our school board in March of 2016. So the more opportunities to participate, there are a number of ways that you can do that. First of all, you can send your questions or concerns to bondinfo@northclackamas.k12.or.us. You can also mail letters to the district office, and the address appears on your screen. You can read the latest developments and find additional information on these bond proposals at the district website. And on that front page of the district website, simply go onto the quick links on the far left-hand side and look for bond information. There you'll find answers to Q&As, you'll find bond advisory committee minutes, you'll find information on each of these bond proposals so you can see them in a little bit more detail, and there's a place for you to encourage your friends to take this survey as well. Here are the dates for the additional community forums. You can see that we'll be across the school district over the course of the next month. We'd encourage you to attend one of these or to share these with other family members or your friends. So as we close, I would just like to remind folks that you heard no promises tonight. What we were just sharing with you are ideas that the Bond Advisory Committee and the district are considering. And as we hear from you, we will begin to put together what will ultimately be the final components of this bond proposal. So no promises that you heard tonight on any of the projects. Obviously, when we come back in the spring and the fall of 2016, the bond will be well defined and we'll be able to explain exactly what is in the bond package and how that will impact every school and unit within the school district. Leroy and I would like to thank you for watching our video and taking the district survey. We want to thank you for your support of the North Clackamas School District and your interest in the successful future of our school district.